this semester, I went to grab a cup of coffee in a dining hall. It was a sunny day, early in the morning, and the world felt quiet. I decided to take the long way home, lingering in the silence of campus for a few extra moments. I walked and I thought about all the people still asleep who surrounded me, warm in their beds, not yet conscious of the day. On Rose Walk, a woman wheeling a cart of papers walked swiftly by, phone in hand. I overheard a snippet of a conversation she was having in French. At Elm, she turned right and disappeared. I stopped and I thought about her. We had just shared a moment, though perhaps she was unaware of it, and I was struck by how much I could guess about her life. I could guess that she was probably calling someone she cared about very much, that she likely had experienced homesickness, as all people do who live far from home, that it took planning and care to call someone who was ending their day as she began hers, that it wasn't always easy. I realized we had a lot in common, despite me not knowing her and her not knowing me. I spent a lot of time in college missing phone calls from friends and family. When it's morning here, everyone I love back home is asleep. Like this woman, I've experienced homesickness. I've learned how much effort it takes to maintain relationships with people who live far away, and also how much this effort is always worth it. At Yale, we are connected to a certain extent by virtue of being at this school. If you are pre-med, I know you probably had a hard semester in Orgo. Perhaps your hard semester in Orgo coincided with my hard semester in American Lit. Perhaps we cried at the same time in the same library, me one floor above. We are connected because we can guess just enough about each other's lives because we share Yale. But the same still holds true without needing to share Yale. In fact, what I had in common with the woman on Rose Walk had little to do with Yale. It had much more to do with choosing to notice what connected us. Many of us are about to enter a world of strangers, a world of unfamiliar people, faces, and names, and we're terrified of this. We have an idea that Yale is the end of all possibility for human connection, the end of friendship. An idea that is distinctly anti-stranger, and an idea that does nothing for us but close us off from the world. But Yale has prepared us for life beyond college by equipping us with one especially important skill: perception. While we use this skill all the time in our learning, we also use it every time we meet a new person. We have learned to connect with people from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of places. And though we may tell ourselves that we are friends because we share Yale, the truth is that while Yale may have brought us together, this school has never been the reason for our connection. Yale has given you a perceptive eye. Use it with intention. Notice the girl wearing a t-shirt with your favorite band on it. Listen to the languages and accents that surround you. Peer over the shoulder of the person sitting next to you on the subway. Maybe they're reading your favorite book, getting lost in something that brought you joy back when you were sitting in a classroom in LC. And on the days when you don't want to be perceptive, that's okay too. Pick up the phone and call the people who are sitting next to you today. Remember that connection exists in many forms, in many moments. Through being perceptive, you will discover friendship, empathy, and community. In other words, you will bring the feeling of Yale with you into all of the spaces you inhabit. Congratulations, class of 2022, and good luck out there.
Hello. Hello. Assalamu alaikum and welcome, friends, family, loved ones, but most importantly, the Yale class of 2022 to Class Day. Woo! My name is Yusra Omer, and I'm one of the 5 members of the Class Day committee. As a member of this committee, I have had the pleasure of working with Yale faculty, staff, and fellow students to bring you this celebration to commemorate our Yale experience as a class.
Stongo for Large God, J5, Good afternoon, everyone. My name is J5, and I'm also a member of the Yale Class of 2022 Class Day Committee. Class Day emerged in the 19th century as Yaleys gathered here on Old Campus to recount, share, and create memories. On this beautiful day, we will celebrate the historic Yale Class of 2022 with reflections. Witness members of our class receive prizes for academic, artistic, and athletic achievements, and practice long-standing Class Day traditions. Later in the ceremony, our 3 fellow committee members will share more details about those traditions. But first up is the Class Day address delivered each year by a notable speaker.
Returning to Yale for our keynote address, Reshma Saujani comes to share her journey and the wisdom collected along the way with the class of 2022. But she also comes to be inspired by the resilience, bravery, and determination of our graduating class. Ms. Saujani's life is driven by inspiration as a first-generation immigrant coming from a family of Indian refugees to Uganda. She grew up in Illinois and attended the University of Illinois, earning her bachelor's degree in our shared field of political science. As with any of our journeys, all roads lead back to Yale, but Ms. Saujani decided to take a trip to a lesser-known institution, the Harvard Kennedy School of Business. The government, oh shoot, already messing that up. No one's familiar with that one. So she went there to earn her master's in public policy and then arrived at the golden gates of the Yale Law School where she received her Juris Doctorate in 2002. Ms. Saujani has had an illustrious career from her work as an attorney, political organizer, campaigning for a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives, serving as the New York City Deputy Public Advocate, and founding Girls Who Code, a nonprofit striving to close the gender gap by teaching girls and young women computing skills so they can be more competitive within the technology sector. Ms. Saujani has been recognized among Fortune World's greatest leaders, Fortune's 40 Under 40 list, and as one of Forbes' most powerful women changing the world, among others. But perhaps some of her greatest accomplishments come in the form of her family with her husband, Nahil, and their sons, Sean and Sai. Her career speaks for itself and embodies several of the fields that many of us will be entering in the not-so-distant future. To find out how she does it all, there's only one way to do it, and it's to hear from Ms. Saujani herself. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming back to Yale, Ms. Reshma Saujani. Hello. Make sure papers are out of your way.
All right, I just have to say it. Damn, it's hot. It is an honor to be here. I want to thank President Salave, the deans, distinguished guests, the graduates, and I also want to give a special shout out to our parents and our family. I am honored to be here today with my husband, Nahal, and my son, Sean and Sai, my father, my sister, Keshma, and my niece, Maya. The truth is especially after the past 2 years, none of us get to this stage alone. There's been a lot of sacrifice, a lot of commitment, a lot of love in our journey to get to this stage. And so I want to recognize all of the parents and family who got us here, and friends. Thank you. Before I get started, I wanted to get out the elephant in the room. I'm sure some of you were a little disappointed when you found out that I was going to be your class day speaker. Maybe you even thought, who's that? And Googled me on the way over here. And I get it. You've had some pretty amazing class day speakers. You've had your fair share of presidents, including Biden and Clinton. And of course, how can we forget Bill Clinton? But today, you get something even more powerful than a president. You get a pissed off mom living in America, so congratulations. So, a lot has changed in the 20 years since I graduated from this incredible university. But I suspect not much has changed about the kind of students that come to Yale. I know this may come as a shock to you, but I too was an insufferable, overachiever. I graduated college in 3 years as valedictorian, and I set out to attend the best law school in the country. In 1989, I'd gotten my hands on a copy of a US News and World Report, and there it was, right at the top, Yale. I took that page and I tacked it to my bedroom wall in middle school. Like I said, insufferable. I applied to Yale not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. I only got close when I pleaded my case to the Dean of Admissions at a funeral. So classy, right? The dean made me a deal. He said, get into any law school in the country, and I'll let you transfer to Yale. So I grinded, and I grinded, and I got to the top of my class at Georgetown Law. Only after all of that did Yale finally let me in. Big mistake on their part. My campaign to get into Yale was the first of many for me. I ran for office twice. I started an organization to teach girls to code. And most recently, I've built a movement to support mothers and working women through the pandemic. Thank you. I love advocacy. I love fighting for people, especially women and girls. And I love that change is possible here, that pushing and agitating for things to be different is a big part of what it means to live in America, to form the more perfect union, right? Or how about this one? Maybe the most famous line said by a US president. Say it with me. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. So iconic, so catchy, so deeply woven into America's consciousness that it doesn't matter whether you're from here or from another nation, you probably know those words by heart. But can I tell you something? Lately, when I hear JFK's famous words, it makes me kind of angry. Because I can't help but place those words in their historical context and compare them to the times we're living through today and hear them just a little bit differently. Let's rewind the tape. It's January 1961, Kennedy's inauguration. America is feeling the aftershocks of a generation-defining crisis. There's tension abroad in Russia and China, and there's tension back here at home, too, around racial equality and the right to vote. Sound familiar? The big difference, though, between back then and now is back then, America was getting the job done. Think about that era. Post-World War II, the United States was literally creating a whole new world order with institutions like the UN, NATO, the World Bank, the IMF. We were sprinting to win the space race and creating life-saving vaccines against polio and measles back when we were into that kind of thing. We were increasing Social Security, raising the minimum wage, creating food stamps, developing the interstate highway, passing the Civil Rights Act. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. America was doing a lot. Not enough, not for everyone, but it was doing a lot. So it's no wonder that in the early 60s, when Pew asked the American people, do you trust the federal government to do what's right? 75% of Americans said yes. Amazing. 75%. So in that context, when JFK takes the stage and he addresses the American people for the first time as their US president, and he asks them to stand up for their country, it resonates. It reverberates for decades. It still reverberates. It's quoted constantly. I just did a minute ago, but the question is, does it resonate? Last year, Pew asked the American people the same question. Do you trust the federal government to do what's right? This time, only 22% of Americans said yes. Now, I've run for office. I've served in government. I am the first-generation daughter of political refugees. This country literally saved my parents' life. I'm the definition of the American dream. So believe me, I want to be in that 22%. I do. But I'm also a working mom living in the only industrialized nation that doesn't offer paid leave, let alone flexibility. And your students graduating with billions of dollars of student loan debt, something that the government can do something about, but won't. This is a community, New Haven, where half the population lost their jobs in COVID, and many still can't pay the rent. In a country, in a state that has the largest income inequality in the country. In a nation where millions are suffering from mental illness, drowning under medical debt. In a nation that rather force birth and sometimes even force death than give us autonomy over our own bodies. In a world with racial injustice, violent authoritarianism, and a climate crisis that is getting worse by the second, all of this was before a once-in-a-century pandemic that the government repeatedly refused to manage effectively. So, ask us what we can do for our country? Are you kidding me? Your generation has marched for Black lives, labor rights, climate rights. You've challenged the stigma around mental illness. You've held powerful institutions accountable, including your very own university. Class of 2022, JFK's words were not for you. Instead, he would want you to ask your country what your country can do for you. Because I bet he'd agree, it should be doing a hell of a lot more. It should be providing health care and child care, saving our planet and our democracy, making the rich pay their fair share, and yes, making workplaces pay up. So yes, ask your representatives, state, local, and yes, even your president, Democrat, Republican, or whatever ticket Eli Sabin runs on in the next 4 years. Ask them to tear down these broken structures and build up equitable ones. And ask your partners, your community, and your workplaces to do the same. And I know you will. But here's the catch. Don't do it now. You're not ready. Don't get me wrong. I know that this is a generation, a class of leaders, eager to use the gift and the privilege of your education to go out in the world with open-mindedness, courage, and contemplation. But before you can ask your country what your country can do for you, you have to ask what you can do for yourself. Let me explain. You know, I told you about the story how I got here, applied to Yale 3 times, top of my class at Georgetown, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the rest of the story. My time at Georgetown was miserable. I was so focused on getting into Yale that I didn't do basic things like sleep 8 hours a day, eat 3 meals, make a single friend. And so by the time I got to Yale, I was exhausted. So I did the best thing I have ever done for myself. I just stopped. And I went, oh, I like you. And I went from having no friends, literally no friends in DC, to having a group of inseparable girlfriends here in New Haven. The 10 of us were some of the only women of color at Yale Law. And back at home, we were shining examples of perfection. But because we had given up so much to get to this institution, when we got here, we had nothing left to give. So instead, we partied every Thursday night at Gypsy. We danced to J-Lo, Missy Elliott, and Britney Spears. We skipped class and went to watch Sex and the City and Sopranos. And for the first time in my life, I cared more about investing in myself, in my relationships, than investing in my career. And it felt incredible. Now, because I chose that path, I didn't fulfill a lot of Yale Law rites of passage. I wasn't editor of my law review. I didn't get a clerkship. In fact, I asked a professor to write a recommendation letter for me. And while he wrote me a letter, he recommended not hiring me. I think he still works here. Anyway, back to my commencement speech. So, you would have thought that I learned my lesson, that I would have left Yale with my battery recharged, ready to go change the world. Well, I left Yale and I went to go work at a white shoe law firm where I got fired because my heart was so not into it. You would have thought after that I'd be ready to go fight the good fight. Well, fight I did with my bosses at my new soulless hedge fund job. Why'd I keep doing that? Why'd I keep doing that? Why'd I keep falling into this hustle culture trap? Well, back then, I didn't think I had a choice. I had spent my whole life studying on how to be a girl boss, how to have it all and look good doing it, that I thought my degree at Yale would just unlock a lifetime of more titles and promotions, more accolades and magazine profiles. Thankfully, that aspiration is no longer in fashion, and I'm pretty sure y'all would rather wear a Harvard t-shirt right now than a girl boss one. But that sentiment that you should be ambitious but likable, relentless but effortless, still lives on. And when we can't balance having it all, we think that's a personal failure rather than a structural one. For so long, I was so ashamed of my time here at Yale. I thought I should have done more, tried harder. But I'm so grateful for my time, exactly as it was. Because it taught me that when I take care of myself, I can better take care of others. and fight for them too. It taught me to be a better leader, a better advocate, a better wife, a better mother, a better neighbor, a better friend. All I ever wanted was this degree. But I'm far more grateful for the lesson. To be sure, self-care has been co-opted beyond recognition by billion-dollar corporations that are telling you to practice self-care and then work 80 hours a week. They want you to fix what they've broken. That's not self-care, that's corporate strategy. Class of 2022, you don't need fixing. You won't need fixing. But after the past 2 years, you will need healing. We all will. Healing is doing whatever your body, your soul, your mind, your spirit needs to recharge. It's re-examining your relationships with yourself, your community, your world, your nation, your faith. You know, outside of my Hindu temple in Queens, there's a statue of a turtle. And the turtle is there to remind you that sometimes you're at your strongest when you withdraw. That you gotta go inward first before charging forward. Graduates, go inward. Heal yourself. Only then can you heal the nation. Because yes, your country needs you. Just not in the way JFK imagined. Your country needs you to take care of each other and reimagine a world that better takes care of us. Your country needs you to break that hustle culture trap and build new workplaces, stronger communities, new social programs, systems that support our mental health rather than tear it down. Our country needs you to fight for rights. Rights, shockingly, we can't take for granted in 2022. The right to choose what you choose, love who you love, be who you are. Because we know that our struggles are intertwined, and so is our path to freedom. Our country needs you to be braver than I was when I left this place. I wish I had your wisdom to advocate for my mental health, to set boundaries, to fight for my rights at home and at work. I wish I had your perspective to know what truly matters, to know which fights were energizing me and which ones were exploiting me. I wish I had permission to be selfish. And not selfish in the egomaniacal or cynical sense, but selfish in the purest sense of the word. To take care of myself so I could better go out in the world and do the work. In the words of the brilliant Audre Lorde, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. Class of 2022, this is my gift to you. I give you permission to be selfish, to ask more from others, especially those who have more to give, to build systems around care rather than capital. to tend to your own brilliant flame before sharing your light with the rest of us. I trust, I know that you will use this gift wisely. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Saujani, for those very inspiring words, for reminding us to care for each other, and through your own example, showing how we can do so. I really appreciate your authenticity and power. And you know, I've been through a lot of these events. You are certainly one of our best speakers, so thank you again. All right, seniors, I have some business that I need to conduct with you, but first I want to ask the following students to come up to the seats in the front row. Chia Amaisola of Sabre College. Kaylee DeLay of Morse College. Jalen King of Benjamin Franklin College. Matthew John King of Ezra Stiles College. Gabriel Lewis Clapholtz of Brantford College. Isi Mingo of Ezra Stiles College. Mary Elizabeth Orsak of Pearson College. Azar Swain of Timothy Dwight College. Alex Winnington of Pearson College. Sarah Mingxin Zhao of Berkeley College. As they get settled, for all of you, we have to do a little dress rehearsal for tomorrow for the university commencement back here in this space. There's going to be a point when I stand up here in front of President Salovey and present you to him so that you can receive your degrees. So listen up. The last two sentences of my request to President Salovey are going to be, they have been recommended by the faculty of Yale College and approved by the corporation. I now ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them these degrees. When you hear these words, confer upon them these degrees, I want to hear you loud and clear. Okay, you're graduating. So let's practice. They have been recommended by the faculty of Yale College and approved by the corporation. I now ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them these degrees. Okay, I'm sorry, you're muted. Let's try again. They have been recommended by the faculty of Yale College and approved by the corporation. I now ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them these degrees. Better, thank you.
Will Kaylee DeLay and Azar Swain please come up to the stage? I am thrilled to announce that the Nellie P. Elliott and William Neely Mallory Awards for the senior woman and man whose excellence in the field of athletics and in their life at Yale best represent the highest ideals of sportsmanship and Yale tradition go this year to the two walking up here, Kaylee DeLay and Azar Swain. Kaylee, through hard work and determination, she molded herself into one of the top distance runners in the nation. She is an NCAA cross-country All-American. She won an incredible 10th place nationally in cross-country. She won back-to-back Ivy League championships in cross-country in 2019 and 2021. She was the Ivy League champion in the 3,000 meters in 2020 and 2022. She holds the Yale record in 3,000 meters, 5,000 meters indoors, 5,000 meters outdoors, and 3,000 meters in the steeplechase. She holds the #2 all-time mark in the Ivy League in both the steeplechase and the 5,000 meter indoors. She was a 2020 Olympic trials qualifier in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. She did all of this while holding down an environmental engineering major, researching at the School of Public Health, and being an Onexus student coach. For representing tremendous athletic accomplishment on the field, and for being everything that a Yale student athlete should be on and off the field, Yale takes pride in awarding the Nellie P. Elliott Award to Kaylee DeLay. Azar. He is one of the all-time great Yale basketball players. He helped lead his team through an incredible season in which the Bulldogs won 19 games and captured the Ivy League tournament title with a thrilling victory over Princeton and earned an NCAA tournament bid for the 3rd straight time. He played in more games in Yale history than any other Yale basketball player ever. That's 121 games to be exact. He was part of 4 championships, 2 regular season and 2 tournament titles. He averaged 19.2 points per game his senior year. He has a remarkable record of 271 career threes, which is first all-time at Yale. He was Ivy League Tournament MVP in 2022 with 1,529 career points, and he was a finalist for Lou Henson Award for Best Mid-Major Player in the country. Like Kaylee, he took a year off during COVID in order to return to help his team have the best possible chance to repeat as Ivy League champions. He earned tremendous respect from opposing coaches and players alike due to his competitive nature and talents on the court and his excellent sportsmanship. And he was, in addition, a fan favorite, someone who garnered the respect and admiration of all Bulldog fans. For his tremendous athletic accomplishment, his relentlessly hard work, and his stature as a competitor of great integrity and honor, Yale takes great pride in awarding the William Neely Mallory Award to Azar Swain.
Jalen King and E.C. Mingo, please come up to the stage. The Nakanishi Prize is awarded to 2 graduating seniors who, while maintaining high academic achievement, have provided exemplary leadership in enhancing race or ethnic relations at Yale College. This year's prizes are awarded to Jalen King of Benjamin Franklin College and E.C. Mingo of Ezra Stiles College. Jalen King, a molecular, cellular, and developmental biology major, is an advocate for social justice and community both at Yale and in New Haven. Jalen has been an active member of the Black Student Alliance at Yale, Black Public Health Professionals at Yale, and Black Students for Disarmament at Yale. He has also been the primary coordinator of coalition building efforts among cultural centers across campus, together with organizations in New Haven. Through his work, he has amplified the voices of Black women on campus and in New Haven, centered the experiences of Black New Haven in relation to Yale, and advocated for residents' respectful treatment and well-being. Jalen is also a proud member of the Eta Alpha Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Inc. and was integral to the Black Men's Union from his very steps onto campus. He developed a co-curriculum to educate BMU students about masculinity and racialized gender issues, instituting webinars, mentoring, and a book club to educate his organization and hold peers accountable for their actions, their learning, and future advocacy on behalf of the Black community at large. For his extraordinary service and leadership, Yale College is honored to award the Nakanishi Prize to Jalen King. Evan Craig Mingo graduates with distinction in both his majors, ethnicity, race, and migration, and psychology. Within and beyond his academic work, EC has given voice, labor, and leadership to the difficult, often unseen work of social justice. EC has created workshops on anti-Blackness in Indigenous communities to support Afro-Indigenous students at the Native American Cultural Center. He has worked on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives for both the Community and Consent Educators Program and the Department of Psychology. EC was selected as one of the inaugural cohort of the Coalition of Allyship Advocates to develop approaches to enhancing race and ethnic relations on campus. And he also established the student organization Blackout to provide a space where Black LGBTQIA+ peers could engage with the implications of this specific intersection of identity. In all his roles on campus, EC has raised questions and addressed the problems of discrimination, colorism, transphobia, homophobia, classism, and other inequities that might otherwise go unaddressed. His aim is always to generate critical conversations, plan productive strategy, and reconcile his peers. For his extraordinary service and leadership, Yale College is honored to award the Nakanishi Prize to Evan Craig Mingo. The James Andrew Haas Prize is awarded annually to, quote, that member of the senior class in Yale College whose breadth of intellectual achievement, strength of character, and fundamental humanity shall be adjudged by the faculty to have provided leadership for his or her fellow students, inspiring in them a love of learning and concern for others. This year, the Haas Prize is awarded to Arya Sang of Pauli Murray College. Arya Sang graduates summa cum laude with distinction in her major, History of Science, Medicine, and Public Health, and as an Education Studies scholar. She received last fall the Francis Gordon Brown Prize for her intellectual ability, high personhood, capacity for leadership, and service to the university. Arya has always promoted accessibility and equity in healthcare systems, asking how to humanize medicine and leave fewer patients falling through the cracks. She has inspired peers, mentors, and colleagues through her work with Chapel Haven's Asperger's Syndrome Adult Transition Program, with Focus and Defy Disability Empowerment for Yale. As president of the Yale Undergraduate Legal Aid Association, she expanded the organization's reach, partnering with the Connecticut Veterans Legal Clinic. She also serves on the New Haven Commission on Disabilities, to which she was appointed by New Haven's mayor, and her 2020 children's book, Courageous Kala and the Clinical Trial, offers children and their families a better way to understand informed consent for research studies. Next year, she will finish her master's in public health at the Yale School of Public Health. for her outstanding achievements, her leadership and service, and for her commitment to accessibility, equity, and inclusivity. Yale College is proud to bestow the James Andrew Haas Memorial Prize upon Arya Channing Tsang.
Wait, what are you guys doing here?
We're giving the comedic reflection. The last 4 years were so brutal, and we have a lot of jokes to make.
What do you mean? The last 4 years were entirely awesome.
Yeah, and we have so many fun memories to joke about. Boola boola! Woo!
Okay, first of all, no.
No one said that since Bulldog days.
And second of all, do you see how tired our classmates look?
No, that's just how they look without their masks.
Can I just say, class of 2022, I think you all look great in your hats and gowns.
But only the originals. 2021 plus ones, why are you still here? You look old. Get a job.
Okay, we don't want to bore you with any reminders of this terrible pandemic, so let's just get all the COVID stuff out of the way.
COVID, COVID, COVID. Unprecedented. Healthy Yale. It's okay to not be okay. Mask up. Bow wow wow.
Feels good to get that out of our system.
You know, I kind of liked the pandemic.
You did?
Yeah, I followed Yale's example and I bought Zoom stock early on.
And you know, I didn't mind mask wearing either. When my friends didn't laugh at my jokes, I could just assume they were silent smilers and I couldn't see it.
Okay, but also, a lot of things during our time at Yale sucked that had nothing to do with the pandemic.
Yeah, like first year formal.
Chase, we went to first year formal together.
Yeah.
Guys, first year wasn't all that bad.
Yeah, remember our first year matriculation ceremony when that rabbit duck image was displayed for what we can only imagine was the 30th year in a row?
Yeah, it was supposed to teach us about perspective, but well, it was really just inspirational to me as an English major because it showed I can reuse material and just hope people forget.
Okay, well, what about that time when people organized against Universal Pass, and we got to hear the worst takes at Yale since I was deferred when I applied early action?
Ehai, it's been 4 years. You've got to get over that.
You know, Ehai, I'm with you. I got deferred too. They gave my spot to some Olympic figure skater, I don't know. But when I got here, I fought off that old inferiority complex by joining 30 clubs, 9 majors, and taking 18 classes.
When did you sleep?
In those 18 classes. To be fair, my professors had very soothing voices.
Also, Ehai, why are you so pessimistic about Yale when it's the place that cultivated our talents? Do you know how good I've gotten at borrowing things? Borrowing mugs from the Pearson dining hall. Borrowing sushi from the Bow Wow. Borrowing portraits from the Yale Center for British Art.
Macrina, what was that last one there?
No, Macrina, I guess you're right. You know, I actually started making art at Yale.
Oh, Ehai, I didn't know you did art.
Yeah, I'm like the Jackson Pollock of street art. My canvas, unsuspecting Yaleys out to get a late-night GHEV sandwich.
Are you the paintballer?
No.
Yale also broadened my worldview. Where else do you get to learn about China's geopolitical role in the world and Afrofuturism, all from different white men?
Exactly. But now, we just wanted to take a moment to remember all of the things that we've lost.
Durfies. The Taco Bell Cantina.
Those evangelicals that used to be all over campus.
That flagpole that was on cross campus for 3 weeks.
JoJo's.
My cultural house.
Your cultural house.
You know, Sigette, now Eden.
Oh, word.
I get it, you guys. You know, so much has changed during our time at Yale. Coming back to campus this year felt like what I imagined the class of 1968 feels when they return for reunions. Like, whoa, women!
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, 1 second we're sophomores and the next we're seniors.
Yeah, who are these kids I have to babysit?
Yeah, who are these kids I have to babysit?
Guys, you're frocos.
Yeah, frocos! That is literally your jobs.
Anyways, now we would like to shout out some special people who showed up for us today.
Thank you to all our haters. You know who you are, and we wouldn't be here without you.
Can we also acknowledge our incredible class day speaker, Ms. Reshma Saujani, the founder of Girls Who Code?
I would just like to pitch you my own nonprofit, Miss Saujani. Just spitballing here. I don't know if you want to multiply your numbers, maybe, but how would you feel about Boys Who Code?
No, that is literally the opposite of what we need.
Kyle, that is the Yale Computer Science Department.
All right, fine. Here's one more never before used original thought to send you all home with.
Where are you going with this, Kyle? My stomach is rumbling.
So, there's this thing that looks like a rabbit, and it sometimes also looks like a duck.
Where are you going with this now, Kyle? My stomach is rumbling.
Oh, I get it, yeah. You look at this place from one angle, it's an ugly duckling. Our trying times, our late nights crying in the basement of Bingham.
But if you look at it from another, it's our lucky rabbit's foot. A place where we've had incredible opportunities to make memories and friends we can call on long after those crying nights in the basement of Bingham.
Guys, did we just learn perspective?
All I learned is the next time I see a familiar-looking South Asian woman passing my residential college, but I don't want to say anything because I don't want to seem racist, I'm going to regret it because that is definitely Mindy Kaling.
Right, well, there's still so much more I want to say about this place. Oh, no.
Why don't we sum it up?
All right. Yale complicated, bright college years. Bye-bye, Marvin Chun. Handsome Dan. What are you doing this weekend? Your mom. Why do we stay for laundry? Never stop complaining. Thank you, Yale.
That was great. I was getting, I was getting tired of the duck rabbit demo too. So, Gabriel Claphose, will you please come up to the stage? The Arthur Twining Hadley Prize, which honors the memory of the man who served as president of Yale from 1899 to 1921, is awarded annually to the senior in Yale College majoring in the social sciences who ranks highest in scholarship. This year, the prize is awarded to Gabriel Klappholz of Brantford College. Gabriel Klappholz graduates summa cum laude with majors in history and global affairs and with distinction in both of his majors. He has also completed the multidisciplinary academic program in human rights studies. As a first-year student, he was awarded the E. Francis Riggs Memorial Prize for distinction in directed studies. He was elected to Phi Beta Kappa in the first election in the fall of his junior year, and he is a 2022 recipient of a Fox International Fellowship. Beyond the classroom, Gabriel's impact on campus has been widely felt, from his work as opinion editor for the Yale Daily News, as a staff writer for the Yale Politic, to his service as the co-president of the Yale Undergraduate Legal Aid Association. An awardee of the Lyman Summer Fellowship from the Yale Law School and an editorial intern at the Yale Law Journal, Gabriel has shown a dedication to working for equity and justice that will surely have an impact well beyond Yale as well. In recognition of his exceptional record and promise of future success, Yale College proudly confers the Arthur Twining High Scholarship Prize this year upon Gabriel Klappholz. Matthew King and Sarah Zhao, will you please come up to the stage? The Russell Henry Chittenden Prize is awarded annually for the senior majoring in the natural sciences or in mathematics who ranks highest in scholarship. This year's prize is awarded jointly to Matthew John King of Ezra Stiles College and Sarah Mingxin Zhao of Berkeley College. Matthew King, a double major in physics intensive and mathematics intensive, graduates summa cum laude with distinction in both majors. In his junior year, he was elected to Phi Beta Kappa and Sigma Pi Sigma. Outside of the classroom, Matt devotes much of his time to creative expression and teaching others. He has served as an undergraduate learning assistant in the mathematics department, a course-based peer tutor in the physics department, and an instructor with Yale Splash. He is an Eagle Scout, the president of the Yale Guild of Bookmakers, and an accomplished writer and musician. An aspiring professor, Matt has spent the last 2 summers researching particle physics at the Fermi Lab in Illinois. He will begin a PhD in particle physics at Yale in the fall and has been awarded a fellowship by the National Science Foundation's Graduate Research Fellowship Program. For his exceptional scholarship and his future promise in his field, Yale College is proud to confer the Russell Henry Chittenden Prize upon Matthew King. Sarah Zhao, a double major in mathematics and statistics and data science, while also completing a simultaneous master's degree in statistics and data science, graduates summa cum laude and with distinction in both majors. Inducted into Phi Beta Kappa in her junior year, she is a 2022 Churchill Scholar and winner of the Bishop Barclay Prize given to the Berkeley College senior who has best discovered the intellectual potentialities of a university. She also was named a Barry M. Goldwater Scholar in 2021. Sarah has conducted research in a variety of areas, including theoretical statistics, diffusion geometry and topology, and quantum computing. Beyond the classroom, Sarah has served as a co-president of Yale's Phi Beta Kappa chapter, a board member of the Yale Education Tutoring Initiative, and an undergraduate learning assistant for the mathematics and statistics and data science departments. Next year, she will use her Churchill Scholarship to pursue an MPhil degree in advanced computer science with a focus on machine learning at the University of Cambridge. For her exceptional scholarship and her future promise in her field, Yale College is proud to confer the Russell Henry Chittenden Prize upon Sarah Mingxin Zhao. Chia Emaisola and Alex Whittington, will you please come up to the stage? The Louis Sudler Prizes for excellence in the performing and creative arts are awarded to two outstanding seniors, Chia Amaisola of Sabre College and Alex Whittington of Pearson College. Chia Amaisola, a computing and arts major on the visual art track, graduates cum laude and with distinction. An artist who uses technology to question and contemplate the nature of the virtual world, Chia makes work that treats digital space like a tactile medium, shaping it into something at once foreign and familiar, and that requires audiences, particularly young ones, to acknowledge their complex relationships with their online lives. Using computer applications, games within games, and social worlds mapped onto real geography, Chia exposes the pervasive, powerful forces of the digital world, both positive and negative, and how they have become some of the most important, most deeply felt aspects of our lives. Much of this work has already made an impact around the world through Chia's nonprofit, Develop. For her exceptional talent and vision, present and future, Yale College is proud to award the Louis Sudler Prize for Excellence in the Creative and Performing Arts to Chia Amaisola. Alex Whittington, a music major graduating cum laude and with distinction, is a multidimensional performer whose work in the theater and concert hall brings new perspectives to works that cross cultural and social boundaries. Alex is a singer, conductor, director, and choreographer who breathes life into music, old and new, drawing on their experience in marginalized spaces of Puerto Rican queer identity, as well as a solid grounding in received traditions of music as art. With a range that spans Greek tragedy to Broadway, Alex has created performances that are as technologically accomplished as they are artistically motivated, drawing equally on multidisciplinary technical expertise and personal journey, and demonstrating a serious belief in the relevance and importance of the performing arts in today's society. For their extraordinary artistic talents and in anticipation of their creative work ahead, Yale College is proud to award the Louis Sudler Prize for Excellence in the Performing Arts to Alex Whittington. Mary Elizabeth Orsak, will you please come up to the stage? The Warren Memorial High Scholarship Prize is awarded to the senior majoring in the humanities who ranks highest in scholarship. The Alpheus Henry Snow Prize is awarded to that senior who, through the combination of intellectual achievement, character, and personality, shall be adjudged by the faculty to have done the most for Yale by inspiring in his or her classmates an admiration and love for the best traditions of high scholarship. This year, both the Warren and the Snow Prize are awarded to Mary Elizabeth Orsak of Pearson College. Mary Elizabeth Orsak graduates summa cum laude with distinction in her major, Russian. She was elected to Phi Beta Kappa after just 4 terms of enrollment. Mary has served in 3 separate research assistantships ranging widely in form and focus, from the archival study of materials in the Guggenheim Museum and the Museum of Modern Art collections, to the production of web content and graphics on Russian hackers, to the planning of a conference on the use of bodies as a form of protest in Russian and Eastern European performance art. She has also worked as a language tutor in both Russian and Czech in the Yale Center for Language Study, as an art and architectural editorial and marketing intern for Yale University Press, and as a managing and design editor for the Yale Review of International Studies. Mary has long served the community as a volunteer, both at the university and across the city of New Haven. She was a member of the Advisory Committee on Community Policing and director at Walden Peer Counseling, where she provided anonymous, non-directive peer guidance to other students. She also served for 2 years as curriculum director for community health educators, planning and offering classes on health, wellness, and sexuality to public school students in the city. She has also continued to be involved in her hometown of Dallas, where she founded and serves as president of a nonprofit, Story Power Inc., which is dedicated to improving the lives of young girls through the donation of books about and by inspiring women. Next year, Mary will pursue a Master of Philosophy in Russian and East European Studies at Oxford University as a Rhodes Scholar. In recognition of her intellectual achievements and her exemplary character as a community citizen, Yale College is proud to award both the Warren Memorial High Scholarship Prize and the Alpheus Henry Snow Prize to Mary Elizabeth Orsak.
4 years ago, I came to Yale cautiously hopeful, but more candidly cynical. Before Yale, I had attended a pre-college summer program that I was initially incredibly excited about. Instead, it turned out to be a complete disaster. Students asked to remove me from photos because my wheelchair ruined it, asked the bus driver to leave without me because the lift took too long, and the list goes on. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the experience jaded me. It convinced me that contrary to what I had hoped for, college would be a place where I would be defined by my disability, and that surface level of understanding would lead to perpetual exclusion. I was ready to repeat the summer of 2017 for 4 more years. Yale powerfully and unexpectedly restored the hope that I had lost by consistently countering that narrative through this community's unconditional integrity and culture of acceptance. Yale is a place where people can meaningfully dream towards a future that they create. For every person here, that means something uniquely beautiful. How did I become so convinced of this that I'm sharing it with all of you today? It is the living proof I have through experiencing daily acts of compassion that extend beyond what I find comprehensible to be humbling, hilarious, and heartwarming. It is a place where when I'm, perhaps shamefully, texting while driving in the dining hall and subsequently drop a plate, someone will be there to pick it up. It is a place where groups of students will fight to have an elevator put in a several hundred-year-old building without me even knowing, just because they feel it is right. It is a place where during spring fling, people will stop to fix my joystick that got trampled, while strangers will push me out of dirt. It is also a place where strangers will run into oncoming traffic when they notice a water bottle fell from my lap from a block away. It is a place where professors will make sure that I am taken care of in their emergency room, while also making sure that I am challenged in their classroom the next day. It is a place where people will form a circle around me at WODS so that I don't get hit. And it is a place where people will take on all the rain to hold an umbrella over me so that my wheelchair doesn't get wet. Ultimately, it is a place where things that I viewed as impossible are made effortlessly possible. I'll give an example that perhaps marks my most transformative moment here. I was a first year, and a senior at the time had written a news piece that, though completely well-intentioned, made my experience as a disabled student look quite bleak. I ultimately felt that the portrayal painted a part, but not a whole picture of my experience. So I wrote an article in response to fill in those missing pieces of light and joy. I was terrified. It was the best decision that I've made at Yale, all because of the community surrounding me today. I made one of my best friends. She had lived on my floor, but we hadn't really connected until she reached out to get a meal after seeing the piece. People who I barely spoke to at the time reshared the article on Facebook so many times that it shockingly went to #1, showing me that people were willing to listen. Still, others messaged me every single day, asking if I was okay and reminding me that it would be okay. People were radically and sincerely open to making space for difference in perspective and experience. and I never had to worry about opening a door again. The experience showed me that what happened before was actually largely my fault. I avoided being vulnerable out of fear, and I missed out as a result. This experience is a testament to vulnerability being supported and even rewarded here. It is a testament to this community championing those who create their own identity. It is a testament to Yale being a place where people who you didn't even know were your allies will rally behind you through both moments of tremendous adversity and victory. It is a testament to this community's readiness to define Yale and the world by inclusion and betterment. I hope this list of anecdotes show that Yale is a place of remarkable passion for people, for empathy, for humility, and for doing the most good in the situations that we find ourselves in. Our community is one marked by an ardently selfless commitment to caring for others. My time here has shown me two things. At Yale, when we learn from each other, we grow smarter. When we lean on each other, we grow stronger. I once read that Ray Charles's mother said to him, "You might not be able to do things like a person who can see, but there are always two ways to do everything. You've just got to find the other way." I wrote in my college application that I hoped I would achieve that one day, and the Yale community has made that possible by finding that way with me. Though the map looks different for everyone, I think that sentiment is, at its core, the definition of a Yale experience. So congratulations, and perhaps more importantly, thank you to the class of 2022.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Victoria Winter.
I'm Christine Hochin.
I'm Steffi Grau, and we're members of your class of 2022 Class Day Committee.
And as members of the Class Day Committee, we're up here to help explain some of the things we've done to help keep up the Yale Class Day traditions as we celebrate the graduation of our class of 2022.
As a member of the 22 Class Day Committee, I coordinated this year's class history. The class history has taken many forms over the years to tell the story of our time at Yale, from live skits to highly produced scripted movies and nostalgic slideshows. As an homage to past class histories while still incorporating student input, this year's video will be a hybrid between scripted and student-submitted works. After the unveiling of our class history will be the singing of Bright College Years, a song written in 1881 by Henry Durand, which has been the unofficial alma mater of Yale since. Sung at reunions, football games, and class day, it remains a symbol of Yale's traditions and long, long history. On the last lines of the song, we raise our handkerchiefs. If you lost yours from first years or never got one like me, the Yale Alumni Association has generously provided new ones. We'll wave them along, as years of graduating classes have done before us, singing for God, for country, and for Yale.
The three incredible student speeches you've just heard this afternoon by members of our class are also a tradition at Yale, legacies of the days when Yaleys delivered formal academic speeches at this ceremony. Each year, speakers audition before the Class Day Speaker Subcommittee, which this year included myself, Jay, and Yusra, who you heard from earlier. The speeches are selected to highlight the beautiful spectrum of experience here at Yale. It was an honor to listen to so many individual stories, all straight from the heart. We hope you enjoyed the vulnerability, candor, emotion, and humor that Charlotte, Chase, Ehai, Macrina, Kyle, and Arya all brought to the reflections of Yale.
Another tradition is the creation of the 2022 Class Day Anthology, which I helped our class put together and edit as a member of the Class Day Committee. You can find a copy of it also included in your Class Day bags. The Class Day Anthology is a booklet of reflections, works of art, and poetry that capture our beautiful shared Yale experience. We selected pieces that we found to be exceptionally representative of our times here as students, both the happy experiences as well as the more challenging ones. We went into this project with the understanding that there is no such thing as a singular Yale experience. We put together this collection, which encompasses a variety of perspectives, and we hope you'll take the time to read through it and reflect on your own 4 years here, or more. You might be surprised at the themes that tie us together.
You'll also find a clay pipe in your Class Day gift bag called the Church Warden Pipe, in addition to some bubbles. When this tradition started back in 1869, graduating seniors would sit in a circle smoking tobacco from these pipes. So it's definitely a different vibe today. We have on these funky hats and we blow bubbles, but this tradition of the Church Warden Pipe still endures over 150 years later.
Another tradition that began in 1851 is the laying of an ivy plant somewhere on Yale's campus, symbolizing the enduring nature of the friendships made in the past 4 years. This year, our class ivy will be placed right inside of Phelps Gate, planted beneath the stone on the wall where our year 2022 will be engraved. Future generations will come through Old Campus and see our ivy and engraved stone as symbols of the enduring resilience and strength our class found here.
A lot of time has passed, and Yale no longer looks the way it once did. The Yaleys of today don't look like the Yaleys of the 1800s, but the planting of the ivy and the Church Warden Pipe are two traditions that unite generations of Yale graduates.
Finally, looking ahead to tomorrow morning's commencement procession, as tradition, the recipients of the 5 academic prizes that were just awarded by Dean Chun will carry an official flag or banner. The winners of the Warren Memorial Prize, Russell Henry Chittenden Prize, Arthur Twining Hadley Prize, Sudler Prize, and Alpheus Henry Snow Prize carry the American flag, Connecticut flag, Yale College banner, President's banner, and Yale University banner, respectively. These parts of Class Day, some more silly and some more serious, all link our class of 2022 to the generations of Yale that came before us, as we move from being undergraduates to alumni of Yale University. Christine, Victoria, and I, along with Yusra and Jay, feel so lucky and honored to have helped our class carry on these traditions.
Definitely. Congratulations, everyone. Before we begin our class history, I have one order of business. Will the members of the Glee Club please make their way to the bandstand? And now, without further ado, the 2022 class history.
Graduating tomorrow.
Yeah, if only there was a way we could look back at all of our wonderful times here at Yale.
Hey, why do you guys look so constipated? Like in the middle of camp Yale.
Oh, we were just trying to remember all our favorite Yale moments.
Well, why don't you just look through the class history?
The class what?
The class history. You know how we're all assigned personal librarians when we get into Yale?
We are?
Yeah, and over the 4 years, the personal librarians actually secretly follow us around and document our every move and actions. And then this super sensitive information is compiled into a book called the Class History, which is distributed after graduation.
No way. I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel fine about it. So, where's the book?
Oh, in the library.
Oh, let's go.
Hey, can we look at the class history?
Can I get some identification? Congrats on the glow up. Follow me.
Hey, look, it's the Harvard Yale game from sophomore year. Hey, look, it's the senior showcase from Casey.
Attention, please. The library closes in 30 minutes.
Wait, what? It's only noon.
Wow, these early closing times are getting really aggressive.
Get out.
Hey, do you think we could check this out?
Well, it's a really valuable archive, and I'm supposed to monitor you whenever you peruse it. So, yeah, why not?
Awesome.
Let's go. Yeah. Look at these. Remember when it used to snow?
Yeah, remember when people told us that it would snow all the time at Yale? I guess times really change.
Yeah. Hey, what's this one?
No!
Hey!
No one can see this.
Run.
Okay, we should be good here.
Yeah. Finally, we can get rid of this from our history. Forever. Wait! Why do you want to change the class history?
Because it's embarrassing.
Of course it's embarrassing. We're college students. College is all about embarrassing ourselves and the growth we gain from it.
We can't edit our history.
I guess you're right. Class day is for everyone.
it's Michaela Jill Murphy, aka the voice of Toph Beifong from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I just wanted to reach out and say, congratulations, Yale class of 2022! Woohoo! You guys made it, you survived, you're part of the real world now, whether you like it or not. So enjoy, congratulations, you finally made it through, and if you're ever feeling a little overwhelmed, just remember to keep your knees high, Twinkle Toes. Congrats, guys.
All right, everyone. I've lost my voice from screaming so much with all of you today, but we just wanted to say a quick thank you, first of all, to the Yale faculty and staff who've made our Yale experiences possible, especially those that are parting ways with Yale with us. Those would be people like our heads of colleges, my own head, John Witt, as well as Dean of Yale College, Marvin Chun. If you could help me, give them all a round of applause. Last but not least, thank you all very much, Yale class of 2022. You are free to go, stay hydrated, and congratulations, class of 2022!